All right, welcome to another episode of Closers or Losers. We've got a unique situation today. We've got a guest here in town. I'm going to introduce this fine-looking gentleman from the island of Great Britain, right? Is that where you're from? And so we got a unique situation. Our podcast room, as you know, is being built right now. So we're moving into that in the next couple of weeks. So we're just like in my office here in the building, kind of snuggled up. I'm here with my good friend. He's actually one of our clients, Simon Leslie, all the way from the United Kingdom. How are you, my man?
I'm good.
You're doing good? You feel good?
We're not quite COVID friendly. But
we're pretty close here. We're not really social. We're not really social distancing today. So I wanted to interview Simon. We've been talking about doing this interview for a long time. He's already in town. I'm actually going to be at an event tomorrow with him, like a private mastermind with what's the gentleman's name that we're going to? Dan Clark. So Dan Clark is he's known here in the States and all across the world as like the guy that teaches you how to really tell your story, right? He's like the storytelling king. So we have a private event with Dan down actually in one of his homes here in Arizona tomorrow. So Simon's in town. He's one of our clients. He is the CEO of, what is your company called?
Inc.
Global.
Inc, yeah.
Inc. So just Inc, like INK?
INK.
So INK Global, it is a company that we do some business with as well, that basically, if you guys, and you'll probably better describe it than I am, but let's say you're in an airport and you're sitting there at, you're getting a drink or a whatever you're doing, a coffee or whatever, and you look up and there's these TVs there, and you're watching something and you start seeing the commercials. Well, this guy's company sells advertising, right, at all of these airports. I think you guys, how many airports are you guys in?
80.
Yeah, 80 some international. Is it just international?
80 in the US and then a couple internationally as well.
Yeah. So, let's say you're in Baltimore or Phoenix, or you're in San Francisco or Dallas or Chicago or, St. Louis, Missouri. That's where I'm from. And you walk in the airport and you see all these advertisements. This guy's the one that his company sells that advertisement space. Would I be right?
You are 100% correct. It's called Reach TV.
Reach TV.
Reach TV.
Yeah, so you can look him up, Reach TV. So I wanted to talk to him. He's also a really popular author. We're going to talk about some of his books. He's got 3 books out now. He's probably going to produce a 4th. He's like a book-making machine lately. So we're going to talk about his books. And we're going to talk about sales. As you know, Simon, the podcast is called Closers or Losers, not because you're a loser by closing sales, but we want to learn the right skills that work with human behavior. We don't really want to focus on calling ourselves closers. We want to focus on making selling collaborative, us working with the prospect to help them find and solve problems that they really didn't think they had. We want to get rid of that closing mentality. Obviously, we're closing sales, but we don't want them to feel like we're just there to sell them something so we can make money, if that makes sense. I know, right? He's got this book. Let's talk about your first book, man.
Well, there's 2 interesting things there. Firstly, my number plate is closer.
There you go.
With a little X. And my wife always says, if I take the C, that's what you really are. You're a loser. So basically I'm here. I'm sorted. I am a closer and a loser at the same time. The funny thing is there's a book. This is a whole book on sales.
Yeah.
It's called There's No F in Sales, because on most days, most people don't sell. They don't sell every day. And it's how you deal with the reality of sales. There's not one section in there on closing.
Tell us, and let's talk about your book. I'm going to be at my lake house this week. I ordered the book right before I left to come out here in Arizona. It's sitting on one of my shelves because I literally got it, threw it up on a shelf, and left for the flight. So I've not read it yet, but I'm going to read it next week. Who was this? Tell us, who did you write? Why did you write the book, and who were you really writing it for?
This came out in September 2019.
Yeah.
And I will warn you that you need to be very careful what you put down on paper. So you write a book called There's No F in Sales, and within 6 months, my business went from 100 million to 0.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that today, why that happened.
So I do think it's quite funny that, something happened along the way. I wrote this for two reasons. First reason, I donated all the profits to a homeless charity called Beam.
Okay.
And I wanted to do something to give back.
Okay.
I've been blessed and done very well, and I wanted to talk about my journey.
Yeah.
And this book was about the journey from when I started in 1994.
Yeah.
How I survived, and we had a few miracles along the way.
Yeah.
Right the way through to the end of 2018.
Yeah.
So it was a look at sales through the eye of somebody who's managed sales forces.
Yeah.
Being a salesman, people call me a CEO, but I'm not a salesman.
Yeah.
I
well, we all
sales.
are, really, right?
I love sales. I love everything about sales, and us together going to learn more and more about sales is just, I'm excited about it.
Yeah, and so you wrote this book for salespeople. You wrote kind of your journey in sales. What do you think? Like give them an example. Like what's one big thing that when they go through this book that they can take away that's really going to, let's say, inspire them, maybe help them close more deals? What would you say that is in the book?
I mean, there are so many anecdotes and stories that people reach out and say, you know what, there's something that this one chapter, I spent all this money on therapy and you gave me a solution in one chapter.
Yeah.
The underlying theme of the book is if you help enough people achieve what they want out of life, you will get whatever you want. Yeah, sure. And I think that's and that's the same thing with sales. You help enough customers. Yeah. You're gonna sell more all the time, and this is a true life story of dealing with rejections, objections. Yeah, and I don't even believe people tell me they get rejected a lot. They're not really getting rejected; they're getting objected to. Sure, and they're getting objections because they haven't done their homework and they haven't done the legwork properly. Yeah, I mean, objections really, and I want to dive into the story of what you had $100 million company, huge company. Scaling it, and then this thing called COVID-19 happened, like a pandemic in the travel industry, probably not so good. So we're going to get into that. Like your company goes from 100 million to there's no flights. So airports are not paying for advertising. Like there's no business. There's not much you can do there. It's like saying like, let's say you're the owner of Delta Airlines, right? And the pandemic hits. You can't really fly any planes for a while. Like you're not going to make any profits because nobody's buying tickets. There's nothing you can do. Like that's not, what are you going to do at that point? But you went from 100 million a year to zero. And then now you're rebounding all the way back up. So I find the story like extremely helpful because we have a lot of sales professionals that listen to the show. We get about 30,000 downloads a month now. Wow. We've got coaches, consultants. We've got business owners. We've got some small business owners, some SMB. We've got larger business owners that are, that are tuning the show. Because I think that story can really inspire people. When adversity hits, because you're always like part of. What I always tell people like. They go through trial and tribulations and like, why is this happening to me? It's not my fault, blah, blah. Well, this life is all about adversity. It's all about trials. Like you are born on this planet, I believe, and God gives us these trials and tribulations and adversity to make us better. Because if we never went through them, we wouldn't know what was on the other side, right? Like if there was no evil, you wouldn't know what good was, right? So I always look at it from a different perspective that, hey, this is going on in my life, but what can I learn from this to make me better? And I think your story is still evolving, like all of our stories, right? We're still evolving, beings. So I love the book in that sense. So I would definitely go out and get this book. If you want to be inspired, if you want to take your sales career to the next level, if you're a business owner, go out and get this book for your sales team, get them inspired, get them, have that understanding that they're going to go through trials and tribulations and adversity. But, if they stick to it, if they stay internally motivated and really important, they learn the right skills, they're going to be very successful salespeople for you. Because, going back to the objection part, most objections are actually triggered by what the salesperson says or doesn't ask. That triggers that causes uncertainty in their prospect's brain of you saying that you can do something. They don't feel like you're really going to get them the result that you say. So you're triggering uncertainty in their mind. And that's why they throw out objections really in the first place. That's a whole nother story. So let's talk about this. There were two things that you said there that I really want to sort of hone in on.
Yeah.
There were two really crap questions. Why is this happening to me? And this is not fair.
Yeah.
And we are one of the themes of this book was stop asking terrible questions. Don't ask yourself terrible questions. If you ask yourself terrible questions, you get terrible answers, and then it leads to a cul-de-sac of nothing. When the book came out, I was amazed because all these companies, some of them I'd never had anything to do with in my career, picked it up. Hilton, for one. It ended up with a salesperson in the Hilton sales team, I think in Azerbaijan, of all places. Then the whole of Latin America, North America, all started reading the book. And then one day I got a phone call saying, would you come and talk to the Hilton sales team? And I thought, wow. So when you write a book and you put your information out there, you're helping people unconsciously. And this has been, to this day, today, I have had an email from somebody going, there's something that you really did that really helped me deal with a problem that I'm dealing with right now.
Yeah.
And the next book I'm writing will continue the story right the way through the last 22 months. So I'm just finishing that now. And that's
your story's ever evolving, right? I mean, you
problem after problem.
Yeah, right. It's a problem after problem. That's the way it is as a business owner. But let's talk about it. So, before COVID, your company's doing, 100 plus million. Things are rolling, right? Obviously, you still have problems and stuff happens. And, COVID happens. And I don't remember if the UK shut down first before a lot of the United States did. I can't remember. It feels like a billion years ago, but this is literally 2 years ago, almost not even 2 years ago, like 23 months ago. Yeah. Next week. Yeah. First part of March that the shutdowns happened. So when the shutdowns started happening, what initially was going on in your mind? Realistically, like what was going on in Simon's mind? This is going to take a week or two. What did you think?
I thought, maybe I thought we have an office in Singapore, so we knew that things were we knew that there were these viruses going around and they were a little bit serious. We just sort of whatever. And I think we talked to some of the financiers in the US, and they said, we know it's coming. It's going to be a short period, and we'll all be out of it soon. Don't worry about it. There's nothing to worry about. Yeah. So in some ways, we were given a full sense of security. Yeah. So March the 9th, which happens to be my wedding anniversary, I get a phone call from the airline going, we're not loading the magazine, because remember the magazine's been on the plane nine days already. Sure. Yeah. Right. So this is, we had 30. So In Global also sells magazine ads too. We had 36 in-flight magazines. We were the king of the in-flight magazine pre-COVID. Yeah. 36 magazines and 36 airlines, and they started phoning up and going, we're going to take the magazine off. Sorry. Okay. That means I've got to give back everyone. I've paid for this. I paid up front. I paid for the journalists. I paid for the printing. I paid for the distribution. Yeah. And some people have paid me, some haven't, but I've got to give them all their money back. Wow. This is going to be millions of dollars. This is going to be a 10 or 11. So it wasn't just minus. It's probably minus 10 million, because all these people who paid for things had to start returning. So you had to refund them all their money. Yeah. And at this point, we're about 15 million a month. So we're about 150 closing on 200. Yeah. And we've just come off 19 was our best year ever. 25% bottom line growth. Yeah. Everything we touched was magic. Yeah. And then March the 9th, we get this phone call. You've got to take these magazines off the plane. People are scared of touching them. They don't want to touch anything. Does everybody know, like when you get on a plane, you look at the in-flight magazines, you start flipping through them, you see all these ads. Well, his company's the one that sells those ads of the magazines you're reading on planes. We produce the whole thing. We produce all the content and sell the ads. And we had 170 salespeople, I think, at that point. Yeah. It was a big business. Yeah. Singapore, London, and Miami were our hubs. Yeah. And then in an instant. So it kind of was like March 9th, you get the call. So you're like, okay, we got to refund all the money. But did the airlines shut down a week later, 2 weeks later, 5 days later? I can't remember. It's forever ago. It was in stages. Okay. I think come the end of March, the whole world shut down. Yeah. So like within a couple weeks after this call, so now you're freaking out. But then a couple weeks later, what happened at that point? Did the airlines call you like, hey, we're done? They shut the doors. Yeah. The planes were parked. We don't know how long we're going to be here. The most pessimistic said September. There was the odd one that went, well, we'll go till next year. Here we are, nearly 24 months later.
Yeah.
And we're still going, and we're still in it, and we're still in the third quarter, maybe second quarter, who knows?
Yeah.
We're still wearing masks on planes. Had I known it was going to last so long, I probably wouldn't have held on so tightly, because there wasn't much I could do.
Yeah. I mean, what are you going to do? Like you're in like the travel industry, which we all know was hit the hardest. There literally is nothing you can do. Like if you're a hotel, it's one thing because you can still get people that drive by and get a hotel room. But if there's no planes flying, if there's no airports open, and you're a company that sells advertising in airports and airport magazines and airplane magazines, there's nothing you can do. So what did you and your business partner, your shareholders, like, take us through that conversation when you get that call that, hey, there's, doors are locked. You're pretty much out of business. Like, what did your shareholders, what did your business partner, what did you guys do at that point?
I think everybody panicked and sort of ran around like headless chickens going, what the hell are we going to do?
Yeah.
And I went back to 2007 or 2008 when the financial crisis was on, and I realized the only thing that I could control was the people. So we had all these salespeople. What was I going to do with them to keep them engaged?
Yeah, because what are they going to sell?
Exactly. I had people phoning me up going, do you want to come and sell something else? We've got, PPE, or we've got stuff, can I use your sales team? I'm like, no. We'll be back soon.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to get them distracted
right.
So I started reaching out to people saying, look, I've got this really powerful sales team and they're not selling anything. Can you come in and talk to them?
Okay.
And in the space of a couple of weeks, I had people coming, and every day we do an hour talk where they just talk about either the pandemic or motivation.
Sure.
Some of them huge names that everybody knows of.
Sure.
Others less so, but still with amazing stories.
Yeah.
By the end of it, I had 52 talks. So that took me all the way through to October. Sometimes.
So what were your salespeople doing the other 7 hours of the day?
They were training, they were coaching, they were
okay, so role playing, coaching, but hey, we're not taking sales calls, so they're at least busy doing something.
They're fielding complaints from people going, "Where's my money? Where's my magazine? What are we going to do?"
Yeah, true.
But they weren't doing very much.
Yeah.
They were pretpretty much in their pajamas at home watching Netflix.
Yeah.
The Tiger King was, I think, the most popular show at the time.
Right. Yeah. So how many months did this go on for?
Well, this went on till about June, and no, probably later actually, probably October. We kept everybody hold, kept as many as we could hold.
Now, were the airlines still shut down in the UK at that point? Okay, so I don't remember when the airlines came back up in the US. I want to say
we had a little peak in the summer, not peak. We had a little open window in the summer where people started flying again, but it was shut down quite quickly.
Then it shut down like a month later. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we're lucky because in the States it stayed open most of the time.
Yeah. American
kept their magazine. I mean, this is the irony of it. American kept their magazine all the way through, never took it off.
Okay.
And the day that, it really finished, they said, we don't want the magazine anymore. And we'd incurred millions and millions of dollars keeping that magazine going, and think, this is the time we've got to make some money now. And so there were some interesting tales, and I had to learn to negotiate with staff, negotiate with clients, negotiate with our partners, negotiate with everybody, with our investors, to make sure we had enough money. We were lucky because we had quite a lot of cash at the beginning.
Right.
We ran out at some point, but when people ask me now, what would you have done sooner? I probably would have shut the doors sooner and said, look, come back when we're ready to come back.
Right. And a lot of companies did that. There were some big companies that, they basically let 90% of their staff go, like after a week of shutdowns.
Yeah.
And whether they believed that they were going to hire them back in 3 months, 6 months, a year, nobody knew, but they just literally let everybody go. Right. And you kind of kept everybody there. But, you had to pay everybody. Right.
And then what happened was people, a lot of my team were making good money. Pre-COVID. Yeah. And I didn't have the products or the inventory for them to make any money. So
how do you hit your quota when you have nothing to sell?
So one by one, I had 18 middle managers. Yeah. Not middle managers, but a management team that ran my business. Yeah. Every single one of those left.
Okay.
So I lost all my
your mid-level people that
Yeah.
run your sales teams. So they're all gone.
They've all gone.
So
Then
who's
one
running
by
the
one
sales teams then?
So we're now a much smaller body, and we're rebuilding again.
Yeah.
But it was a really sad time because you had to say
Yeah.
goodbye to people who've been with you a decade. Some of them in 2 decades.
And you can't even blame them because they can get into a different job where they can make money because they have something to sell. I mean, what are you going to do? How do you keep somebody there that can't sell anything?
There were a lot of sad conversations that.
Yeah.
But you understand, and I think it was harder for them than it was for me because I was getting used to this conversation. It's not me, it's you.
Yeah. Right.
And we just we said goodbye, and some of them have 3 or 4 jobs since. We talked about this before. Sometimes somebody is really good in one environment, one industry, and then they move somewhere else and they haven't got the same support, the same energy. I'm all about energy. Having a sales floor which is buzzing and full of energy.
Yeah.
And
so maybe they don't have the right environment. Maybe they don't understand, why buyers buy. They don't understand, really sales, right? They might have some pitch down and they sell, advertising, but then let's say they like, hey, I'm going to get a job selling insurance, or I'm selling SaaS or cybersecurity, and they take that same pitch and it just doesn't translate, right? And it could be the culture too.
I think it's more culture. We spent a lot of time and effort on our culture, making sure it was fit for purpose, for business, for doing business, for working with clients, for rewarding salespeople, but also rewarding clients, and making sure we looked after them. And I think not everybody does that within their business.
Sure.
Some people just want to hit and run. Some people, overcompensate their customers. And
well, it's all about making your salespeople, like in our culture here at some level, it's making our sales teams competitive, but yet we're all on the same team with the same goal of, helping our clients, whether they're an individual salesperson or a company like yours, get the results that they're looking for, right? So everybody works on that and helps each other to be able to do that, but they're also very competitive, right? They all want awards at the end of the month. They all want to be the top dog. We have 3 different sales awards that we give out a month. We have over 100 salespeople, and we have 3 sales awards. So they are fighting for that award. And we have other awards, like we have, most improved and all these other things. And people are clamoring to get that.
Got to credit the wooden spoon ones as well. Turned up award. We actually had a belt. I had a belt made in each office, which was like a boxing belt.
Okay.
Which was Salesman of the Week and Young Salesman of the Week. So we used to do that.
I get to wear the belt.
I'm getting to blow some smoke up your backside now because, I did come and I talked to your team before Christmas, and and I can say that your ethos and your culture reminded me very much of what I built many moons ago, and I saw that through your team and the way they behaved and how they partied as well. And a good example is one of your guys bought the book, and he phoned me and told me I did the biggest deal I've ever done the day after it. So it works as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Even for well-trained salespeople.
100%. No, it's definitely inspiring. So I want you guys to get this book. Go out and get this book. There's no F in sales. That's pretty awesome. Now tell us, you've got this other book, White Belt Thinking. Tell us about white belt thinking. So why did you write it? Who is it for?
This came very much out of some of the conversation. And I only realized this the other day. I thought it was a whole new thinking that I'd obviously come up with.
Yeah.
But when I was going back, the next book is called Equanimity. And that's talking about the 52 people who helped me.
Yeah.
And as I was reading through some of the stories, actually, 2 people talked about white belt thinking. Not in that format, but the concept of it, which is, when you start out in karate or judo, or whatever it is, you start out as a white belt.
Yeah.
And you're a beginner, and you've got a beginner's mind, and you're prepared to do everything.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah.
Right. And now, once you become more and more experienced, you stop doing the things that you did that got you where you needed to get to, and you start changing your behavior. This is a positive fable, which is a story of a young boy from Ireland.
Yeah. What part of Ireland?
Dublin.
Oh, Dublin. Okay. I used to live in Dublin when I was 19 by Trinity University. That's a whole nother lifetime ago, but go ahead.
And he wants to be a boxing champion.
Okay.
The forward is written by a guy called Billy Schwer, who was when I was growing up, he was a boxer, and every time he got to world title fight, he got beat.
Really? Okay.
And then on his fourth occasion, he won the world title. I get goosebumps telling that story.
Interesting.
And Billy and I became friends, and I loved his story about that resilience to just keep going. So he helped me with the introduction, and this is just that story. It's a story of kindness, angels, being nice, and just all the mantras that I've used throughout my life.
Yeah.
And it's a bit of fun. Some people have told me they've read it on the plane journey and gone, just what I needed right now. Just another little.
I think, you said something interesting there, because we always say, in seventh level that what's the saying that I always say? It's low six-figure salespeople have such big egos. I always find that because they think they know everything about selling. They can't learn anything else, right? They might be the number one salesperson in their company. They're making 120, 130, 180, maybe even 200 grand a year. And they think they cannot learn anything else. And because of that, their skill level keeps them here. Because what's gotten you here, if you guys can see it, so maybe you're watching this on YouTube, how is that going to get you up here? You can't, right? You can't say the same things, ask the same questions, and then all of a sudden like double your sales or triple your sales. Like, what are you going to triple the amount of hours you work? You already work 8 to 10. What are you going to work 20? Doesn't make any sense. So we find a lot of times ego gets in the way of a person developing new skills that can take them to a new level, whether you're a business owner, whether you're an individual salesperson. It's like we have to let go of our ego and be willing to learn more advanced skills to get us to a higher level. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's even more, that's correct. And there's even another layer, which is when you're starting out, you will do anything.
Yeah.
There's a chapter in here where he was given 2 or 3 days off after a fight to come, and he turns up late to the gym.
Yeah.
And the gym owner says, "You're not coming in."
Yeah.
He goes, "Why?" Because you've had your days off and you've turned up late.
Yeah.
You're not ready to start training again.
Yeah.
And it was just that instance of you've got to have your behaviors right.
Yeah.
Right. If you're going to take time off, I give you time off and I give you extended time off, and then you want a little bit more. Yeah. That just shows me that your head's not in the right place.
Yeah.
And what people don't do is they'll work like machines when they're starting out. They'll make so many phone calls. They'll make so many emails, so many reach outs, so many touch points.
Yeah.
And then they get a little bit of success.
Yeah.
Remember, success is, everyone's got their own version
of what success actually is.
Success.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
But they've got this standard of living that they enjoy.
Mm.
You ask them to go and make that same amount of calls again. They go, "No, I don't have to do that anymore. That's what the old me did." And then you watch very quickly how their career starts to go
down.
And they have they get into a scarcity mindset.
Yeah.
I've got all this money in my bank account. I don't want to lose it.
Yeah.
But I don't want to do all the things that got me here.
All right.
So it is going back to that beginning, because what would you do if you were starting again today? And I think every day we get an opportunity to start again.
Yeah.
And live our best version of us.
Yeah, because it's like I said, and I'm gonna tell I have an internal meeting here, like in 1 minute. I'm gonna be like, guys, I'll be 10 minutes late because I want to keep going in this conversation. I think this conversation is so good. So it's about, let me tell everybody,
we're talking, we're having fun. What I don't want people to do is to go backwards, to fail after achieving success. And the biggest thing that I see in sales people generally across the world, and doesn't matter what country you live in, is this scarcity mindset, this place of not enough. There is more money for all of us. There's more deals for all of us. There's more opportunity for all of us, and we leave so much on the table every single day.
Yeah.
And if any of you follow me or don't follow me or look at anything I write or do, you'll see that I live everything that I talk about in the books. I live a lifestyle that I want to live. And it's a very simple mantra. It's do what I want, where I want, with who I want, when I want.
Yeah.
And I want to spend my life with the people who bring out the best in me. And that's where you should want to live your life. Well,
I think, and I think this, I want to talk to everyone about this because you told me when you were here in November at the office speaking to our internal sales team, you said, "Hey, I'm a poet." I'm like, "What? What do you mean you're a poet?" I thought you were joking. You're like, "No, I'm a poet. Like, follow me on IG." And so I started following you on IG, and I started getting these pumps. I'm like, "Man, Simon's pretty good. Like, his poetry is actually really inspirational." So talk to us about this book And let's have people follow you on IG to get more tips about this.
So that was, who knew?
The motivational poet. I love that.
Who knew that this alpha male could be a
this big time CEO is now a poet. See what COVID can do to you. I love
exactly. I mean, I'd be sat on the bench outside my house looking out to sea going, how am I going to get through this? And this became a cathartic.
So this is when you start. Okay. So company is like, hey, country shut down. Airplanes are not flying. Airports have locked their doors. You're basically, I mean, you still have the business because you did well with having cash there to survive. But I'm assuming, because it had no impact on ours. So I can't even imagine with being in the industry you're in, how there's nothing you can do about it. Like, what are you going to do? Like go sell tires the next day? Like, it's like, what am I going to do? So you're sitting there thinking and you start writing poetry.
So I was doing deals as well. So I took the business, which was a previously very print-based business, and I turned it into a TV and a digital business. Yeah, and to be able to do that amongst probably the biggest chaos and crisis we've ever been through.
Yeah, for sure.
It was a wonderful thing, and all this writing and creativity and curiosity is what keeps us alive, keeps us thinking, and I just started putting it down on paper, and I wrote one and I wrote another one. In this book alone, there's nearly 400.
I see them on your IG.
Every day I write a different one, and I'm probably up to about nearly 500 now I've written.
How do you come up with this? Like you sit down in the morning, you're like, okay, today I'm going to just write away. How long does it take you?
While I was waiting, having a coffee this morning, I wrote 5. So,
wow. Okay.
So give me a number between 1 and 365.
267.
267.
267. What do you got? What do you got for the audience here?
Well, it's a good one, this one. Excuses and blame, disappointment and shame. They're just things that self-harm. You just carry on and keep calm.
I like that. That's something good to, especially when everything was shut down there. It's like, you just got to know that it's going to be okay and you got to stay calm.
So we'll do 268 because it's open. Now, I like to do this when I go to places and I'll say, let me read the 2 poems. And it's always quite interesting. So the Buddhists say we have 2 lives to live, 2 lives to run. The second starts when we realize we only have one. Don't wait for something to go wrong. Live each day as if it's the last to come along.
That's good. And I've noticed, even in the last year and a half, you've been traveling all over the place. Like I'll look at your Instagram or your Facebook and like you're in LA one day, the next day you're like in freaking Egypt, like 3 days from there, you're in Miami, then you're over here in this country. What's been going on with the travel bug?
Travel is what's kept me sane, I think, over the last 27 years. We started the business in Beirut. Our first client was a tiny airline that went from London to Beirut. Okay. Then I went to Africa and I spent my formative years trading in Africa and East Africa and Southern Africa. Okay. So I've always had this buzz to go to different cultures, meet different people. Yeah. And now it's sport. Reach TV, which is the network we talked about, has become the home of live sport in travel. Yeah. Okay. So when you're at the airport last week, we had the Super Bowl playing. Yeah. So we signed
I saw you at the Super Bowl. Yeah.
I was at the Super Bowl, but we do have an exclusive contract with the NFL. So we play at the airports live NFL games all season. Yeah. We're talking to other major sports, and we're about to announce something quite sexy where we're going to have live sports in flight as well. So we've become.
Hey, that man! Sign me up for that, man.
We've definitely become the home of live sports, and that's how I've transitioned how we position ourselves. We've gone from this sort of nice business to this quite sexy business. Anything to do with sports, and
because you had to transition, right? Like all selling, all success. I always tell everybody it's about one thing. It's about change. It's about how good you are at change. Because if you can't change, if you can't adapt, you
100%.
You don't survive.
100%.
You don't thrive.
And hopefully didn't wear the same clothes yesterday, and we all come in different clothes. But most people are so scared of change; they're stuck in their ways. I have too many people who are. Again, it goes back to that scarcity and change are the same thing. It's I don't want to change anything. It's fine. I'm happy earning my 5,000 a month. That's fine, or 10,000 a month, whatever it is. Yeah. Don't take it away from me.
Because you're not confident in their abilities. if you're confident in your abilities and you learn new skills, you know that change is good for you.
You know, I thought about this last week. I've done 300 hours of mastery in terms of selling, learning how to sell and everything. I've learned hypnosis, NLP,
NEPQ now.
NEPQ.
Yeah.
I'm a white belt in NEPQ.
I know. I remember you're like, hey, I did that email that you told me to do, and the customer like came back to me, blah blah. I'm like, yeah, I know.
And that email, you know, has transformed my son's business. We talk a little bit about that because it's also about, you know, does your playbook work for somebody else, which I think is really interesting. But I did micro expressions, I did facial expressions, body language. Yeah. So I have studied. There isn't anything I haven't studied that's related to the sales journey. Yeah, and I still feel like I know nothing.
Yeah, 100%. We're ever evolving. Well, Simon, thanks for being on today. I'd like for everybody to go now and follow you on IG. Let's tell everybody what your IG handle is. We'll have it here in the show notes as well, so they can follow you on IG to get motivational quotes here. Motivational poetry. I love it. The Motivational Poet.
The Motivational Poet on IG, or you follow me, which is Simon_Leslie21.
So Simon_Leslie21. IG handle, or what's your IG handle for this?
The Motivational Poet.
The Motivational Poet. I want everybody to go right now. There's probably 30,000 of you listen to this, and follow this man for daily inspiration. I promise you it will help you. I follow him for daily inspiration, and he's a client, so of course I have to follow him.
And you know, we had the best quarter ever, I think, in 2021, just gone. Yep. Despite everything else, and I don't think it's a coincidence that we started working together. Your
salespeople have been going through our virtual training portals probably 5 months now, something like that. So it takes a couple months to really get going and get them involved in everything. We wrote out your sales structures for one division of your company that's going quite nicely. We're still working on the second one right now. So congratulations, my friend.
No,
go follow Simon right now. We're going to have, we're going to have his IG handles for you to go follow him for daily inspiration. Get his book here. There is no F in sales. Great book. White belt thinking. Great book as well. Get his books. Learn additional skills. You know, the reason Matt and I started this podcast, it's not like we don't have a lot of stuff going on, but the reason why we wanted to start this podcast was for you listening to us right now. So we could bring in not just Matt and I talking about different tactical sales things, you know, different questions to ask and tonality and things, but to bring in really big guests like Simon, who've gone through things, who've gone through adversity and different trials and tribulations that have come out on the other end because they were willing to adapt. They were willing to change, and they took the skills that they had, and those skills helped them make that change. Because if you don't have the right skills, you don't know what to do. You don't know how to change, right? You don't even know how to start. So Simon, I want to thank you for being on. And if you haven't joined our Facebook group yet, we're going to have the link here, salesrevolution.group. Go now, salesrevolution.group. We go live in the Facebook group about 3 or 4 times a week with different trainings, different tactical trainings, different Q&As. In fact, we got a Q&A here in about an hour and a half I'll be doing as well. And Simon, thanks for being on. And I guess we're going to be together in the mastermind the next couple of days and going out to dinner, having some fun.
100%.
Fist bump.
Life is good.
Boom. All right, everybody. Thanks. Have a great day. Follow this man. I promise you he'll inspire you. And go to salesrevolution.group. Join it. We'll see you soon. Hey guys, if you enjoyed these, here's another you can watch right over here. Join our free Sales Revolution group. Click the link below, join us, and we're going to help you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you real soon.